What's poppin', y'all? Post Malone is a subject we haven't gotten into for quite a while, but most recently he's had a massive success, which is the fact that he has been number one. He's had a number one song on the Hot 100, which having one of those is already a massive accomplishment that the majority of successful artists never get in their entire career. But he's had multiple number ones on top of that, but he has had multiple number ones across 3 different genres. So he's had rock star, he's had a bunch of rap number ones. He's had number one in pop, and now he's got a number one in country, the song with Morgan Wallen. Morgan Wallen, I think he's already had multiple number ones in country. That's one of the biggest country artists. He's really the first person I had heard of when I was recognizing that there was a shift into country music sales, because this guy was doing like 250K, washing all these rappers, just staying number one on the charts. Dude's doing like 120K his 8th week. This is several years ago. I'm like, what the hell is this? What's going on here? And Post Malone's always had a more eclectic music palette, taste, and talent, even when he first came into the game. One thing, though, is there's a lot of misconceptions about Post Malone, and I think there's always been hate towards Post Malone, regardless of the fact that this guy's made some of the best music of our generation. If we really keep it a stack, this guy has arguably the Beatles of our generation. Now hear me out. He's got banger. You cannot name a Post Malone song that, yeah, that was trash. At best, you could say, that was all right. That was pretty good. That wasn't my taste. But you can't say Post Malone's dropping garbage music. On top of that, Post Malone has, I think he has the most diamond records ever. He's got like 9 or 10 diamond records. He's got a double diamond record, which I think is the first artist to ever have something like that, with Sway Lee on Sunflower. The 9 diamond records, the person that had the previous record, he has 8 right now, or it might be 9 now. But the person who previously held the record for the most diamond was none other than Bruno Mars, who's an artist that we can also agree doesn't drop any bad music. But when did the hate for Post Malone started? It really started at the inception with White Iverson. This is where we first got introduced to Post Malone. This is the first song I had ever heard about him from. I remember the blog Ill Roots had posted it. It was a SoundCloud link. It probably had less than 5,000 plays at the time. When am I listening to this? 2015 maybe? Was it 14? It was either 14 or 15, but most likely 2015. And I automatically knew that this was amazing. But the imagery, and people were already looking at him a certain way. Anthony Fantano was one of the OG haters of Post Malone. Like, he was really hating on that guy off rip. So he got some hate, and granted, I feel like a lot of people don't know this. Lior Cohen's son was Post Malone's manager, or like the first person to, I don't know if he signed him directly, but he was managing Post Malone for that period of time once White Iverson dropped, for the next 6 months or so before Post got into a deal, because Post Malone didn't sign a deal right away. One of the comments, though, that Post Malone made, and I think Post Malone was always going to get hate just because he was white and he wasn't really traditionally a rapper. But in 2017, there were comments made by Post Malone that were misinterpreted and spun into headlines that made it seem like he wasn't messing with hip hop. So people are always bringing that up, but they don't even have the full context because they just read a headline. They probably already had a bias against Post Malone, and then they're like, oh, this is confirmation for my bias. Yeah, Post Malone was hating on hip hop, when that's not the case. So in an interview, he said, if you're looking for lyrics, if you're looking to cry, if you're looking to think about life, don't listen to hip hop. That's the quote. But that's really what people just heard. He continues on and he said, there's great hip hop songs where they talk about life and they spit that real stuff. But right now, keep in mind, this is 2017. 2017. Remember how terrible Lil Pump and Smoke Perp were the hottest thing out, saying F.J. Cole was cool. We had Boonk. This was arguably one of the worst eras of hip-hop ever. 2017, he's saying this. He said, but right now, there's not a lot of people talking about stuff, which is facts. We were all complaining in 2017, everything sucks, for the most part. Right? We had like Uzis and the people that had come around, but Uzi really came in the game 2015, 2016. So a lot of those people that were on XXL for 2016 were the prior year. But 2017, 2018, it was not too hot. Meme rap was at its peak. And then he continued, whenever I want to cry, whenever I want to sit down, I'll listen to some Bob Dylan. But whenever I'm trying to have a good time and stay in a positive mood, I listen to hip hop because it's fun. I think hip hop is important because it brings people together in a beautiful, happy way. Everybody's happy. And then people decided to come at him, and he really said, it's crazy that after all this time, I'm still being questioned. SMD, I don't have to explain anything. I do this because I love to do this. I don't understand how people can throw hate on Post Malone or say Post Malone. This is, people throw MGK into this too. And they say, man, these guys used hip hop. Yo, MGK was never accepted by hip hop. Like, why do people pretend that they were fans of MGK and they were like, man, you know, he used rap and then he moved on to something else? MGK was consistently getting hate within hip hop for like 8 years straight. So he just went to where he was more welcome. Post Malone, he really never abandoned hip hop in any type of way. MGK also still raps. Post Malone never really rapped like that. He was always more melodic. He was always singing a little bit more. He fit into that era of hip hop music. But Post Malone has given features and looks to many rappers that he didn't have to give. For instance, he took Roddy Ricch on 2 tours. 2 separate tours when Roddy Ricch wasn't even that hot for the first tour that Post Malone took him on. So you're talking about a guy that's using hip hop when he's given looks that he doesn't have to give to rappers, to up and coming rappers, not to mention features, right? Post Malone's most recent album, I don't think it had any features at all, pop or otherwise, but he had 21 Savage. I'm pretty sure he gave 21 Savage his first #1 song. He had Quavo on one of the biggest songs ever. Congratulations. That's probably Quavo's biggest song ever. Of course, he's featured Roddy Ricch. He's featured Gunna. He's featured who else? Dude, it's the amount of people is countless. DaBaby, Future, Meek Mill. It's evident that Post Malone is let's keep it real, a huge hip hop fan. He loves the sound of hip hop, and I think he just has a wider music taste and the talent, and as well as talent and image to be able to spread across to different genres. For example, let's say Young Thug was trying to shift over more into pop or country. I think he'd have more difficulty because, you know, Post Malone's a white guy. He grew up in that. He's made a bunch of different music before he stumbled into hip hop. And I don't think we should knock someone for finding success in a particular genre, especially when he never directly said anything disrespectful about hip hop. Did people want him to lie and say, yeah, man, you know, hip hop's the greatest genre? Like, the lyrics are going crazy right now in 2017. And then if they ask him, oh, who are you listening to? Who's like that in 2017? He's just going to be mute. He's not going to know what the hell to say. So he was being honest in the right time period. And then it got spun out of control by the media who gave the headline. And then a bunch of people that already didn't like Post Malone decided to take that piece of media without looking into it further and now stamp Post Malone as this figure that was like hating on hip hop. Also, we got to take into consideration, Post Malone is out here outselling a lot of rappers with his Diamond Collection. So he put out an EP called the Diamond Collection, which is 8 or 9 songs of his that went diamond. So it's a project that gets its own sales. And this thing sold like 28K last week. So this guy, unless Polo G changes up his sales or they buy some albums towards the end of the week, Polo G's projected to sell under that. I think Ice Spice was selling under that before they did a bit of finagling. He's outselling Lotto. This guy's outselling artists' new albums with his old streams of songs that already went diamond. As far as I'm concerned, Post Malone is a legend. Now, is he a hip-hop legend? That's a very good question. that is a very good question. I don't know, because he was always in this gray area. He never rapped enough, and he just moved on to bigger things. But he's never said, I'm bigger than a rapper. And let's also take an example of someone else. Yachty, for instance. People were upset at his comments, but Yachty still raps a lot. Yachty shows love to a lot of rappers, and even Yachty was getting hate. And, you know, Yachty's not a white dude. But I think it's just the nature of the game. Post Malone, we need to show some respect here, all right? This guy, he has had no misses. I've loved this guy's music since day one. He doesn't bother anybody. He doesn't hate on anybody. He shows love to a lot of smaller artists. He's put a lot of artists on. There's a reason why you don't see any rappers hating on Post Malone. It's really just randoms because he's done so much for them. And I think if I recall correctly, Post Malone was like a Sababy fan. I don't even know how to pronounce that guy's name. People are telling me that I've been pronouncing it wrong for 10 years now, or not 10 years, but like 8 years. I know him as Sababy, but this guy is very, very plugged in and reaches out to a lot of rappers. I don't think people can judge how much Post Malone appreciates hip-hop. And he knows a lot about hip-hop. And he got a lot of hate. You guys remember how much Charlemagne was hating on him? Sheesh. And this is where people say, oh man, this guy's the most, Drake's the most popular artist in the world. Oh really? Does Drake got more diamond records than Post Malone? And Post Malone's dropped less projects than Drake and been around for half the time as Drake? Okay. That's what I thought now. It sounds like I'm Post Malone glazing, but realistically, the reason why I think it's fair is because not enough people talk about it. That's why. And the guy, you can turn on anything Post Malone and it's gonna hit. And the albums too. That's another thing. I just wanted to share that point. I think it's an enormous accomplishment to get 3 number ones across multiple different genres. Also, the writers that Post Malone works with and producers are very, very good. And he's had this tight-knit partnership with these guys for, I think it's 1 or 2 guys, for years now. And they've made some smash hits together. But let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Peace.